4:47 hours, Western Pacific location, near U.S. Air Defense Identification Zone. The bomber wasn't supposed to be there. Not that close, not that quiet, not on that heading, yet the radar return was unmistakable. Large, fast, high altitude, and moving straight toward U.S.-controlled airspace. 4:49 hours, first detection. Inside a U.S. Early Warning Command Center, a radar technician leaned forward. New contact just crossed the outer track line. The watch officer glanced over. Civilian? The technician shook his head. Negative. Radar cross-section matches a heavy military aircraft. Another console chimed. Electronic intelligence lit up with passive emissions. The classification updated automatically. PLA-AIR Force. 4:51 hours. Why is it here? The H-6 was no fighter. It wasn't a patrol plane. It was a long-range strike bomber capable of carrying cruise missiles, some with ranges measured in hundreds of miles. The watch officer frowned. Any flight plan? None filed. Escort? Not yet, but stand by. 04:53 hours. The line that matters. On the main screen, a thin digital boundary glowed. The U.S. Air Defense Identification Zone. The bomber was flying parallel to it. Too parallel, almost like it was testing the edge. 4:55 hours. Additional contacts. A second radar blip appeared behind the bomber. Then a third. Smaller, faster. The intelligence officer's voice dropped. Possible fighter escorts. J-16S. The room stiffened. This wasn't a navigation error. This was deliberate. 4:57 hours. NORAD loop activated. The situation escalated instantly. Feeds rerouted. Command nodes synchronized. Higher authority notified. The bomber's speed increased slightly. Not enough to provoke. Enough to pressure. 4:59 hours. Silent approach. The Chinese bomber did not radio. No transponder, no identification, no warning. The watch officer muttered, "They're pushing it." 05:02 hours. Scramble order. The order came down quietly. Launch interceptors. No alarms, no drama, just procedure. 05:05 hours. U.S. fighters. Airborne. From a U.S. base far ahead of the bomber's path, engines roared to life. Two F-22 Raptors lifted off into the pre-dawn sky. Radars passive. Weapons hot, but safe. They climbed fast. Very fast. 05:09 hours. First shadow. The Chinese bomber crew had no idea. The Raptors approached from above and behind, completely invisible. No radar lock, no warning tones. The bomber continued its course, calm, confident. 5:12 hours. Visual confirmation. At 20 miles, the F-22 pilots finally saw it. A massive aircraft. Wings wide, engine steady. One pilot whispered, "That's a big one." The lead Raptor replied, "And it's flying like it owns the place." 05:15 hours. Crossing the threshold. The bomber's navigation ticked forward. 1 mile, half a mile. The digital boundary flashed. Airspace violation, imminent. 05:16 hours, the moment. The bomber crossed the line. Just barely, but it crossed. The command center went dead silent. No one spoke. Everyone understood. This was no longer posturing. This was an incursion. 5:17 hours. Radio challenge. A calm American voice transmitted on guard frequency. Unidentified military aircraft. This is the United States Air Force. You are entering restricted airspace. Turn immediately. No response. The bomber continued straight. 05:19 hours. Escalation warning. The Raptors moved into position, one off each wingtip, still unseen. The lead pilot keyed his mic again. Chinese military aircraft. You are violating U.S. airspace. Alter course now. Still nothing. Inside the bomber cockpit, warning lights flickered, but not radar. Something else. Proximity alerts. (05:21 hours. Visual shock. The Chinese bomber pilot glanced left. His breath caught. A gray shape sat off his wing, close enough to see the canopy. An F-22. Then another appeared on the opposite side. Silent, deadly, unavoidable. 05:22 hours. Panic in the cockpit. The bomber's co-pilot shouted, "Stealth fighters! Where did they come from?" The pilot tightened his grip. They hadn't been detected. They had simply appeared. 05:23 hours. Fighters close. In the Raptors edged closer. Not aggressive, not yet, but unmistakable. This was not escort. This was control. 05:25 hours. Escort fighters react. The Chinese J. 16 US surged forward. Radars flicked on. Warnings screamed in their cockpits. Then, everything went wrong. 5:26 hours, the Raptors revealed dominance. The J-16 systems lit up with alerts. Multiple locks, every direction, no clarity. They were being targeted from nowhere. The Raptors weren't even trying. 05:28 hours, the decision point. Back in the bomber cockpit, a command message flashed. Maintain course. The pilot hesitated. Ahead lay U.S. airspace. Beside him, invisible death. Behind him, political orders. 05:30 hours. America draws the line. The lead Raptor transmitted one final message. Turn now. No threats, no raised voice, just certainty. 05:31 hours. And then, the bomber did not turn. Not yet. Fuel burned. Engines roared. The airspace clock ticked. And somewhere far away, higher authority watched the feed in absolute silence, knowing that whatever happened next would be seen by the entire world, because the bomber had crossed the line, and the next move would decide whether this ended as a warning or became something far worse. 05:32 hours, U.S. Air Defense Identification Zone. The sky felt tight, compressed, as if one wrong move would tear it open. The Chinese H-6 bomber continued straight ahead, engine steady, nose unwavering. On either side, the F-22 Raptors held position, close enough that the bomber crew could see the pilots' helmets through the canopies. No flares, no missiles, just presence. Deadly, undeniable presence. 05:33 hours, command tension. Peaks inside the U.S. Command Center. Feeds from multiple sensors fused into a single picture. The bomber was inside restricted airspace. The Raptors had firing solutions. Rules of engagement scrolled on a side panel. The duty commander asked the question no one wanted to answer. Do we have hostile intent? The intelligence officer replied carefully. No weapons bay doors open, no radar painting, but trajectory remains unchanged. The room went quiet. 5:35 hours. Inside the bomber, the Chinese bomber cockpit was tense, almost claustrophobic. Warning tones pulsed, not missile alerts, but proximity and threat awareness systems struggling to understand what they were seeing. The co-pilot whispered, "They're controlling us." The pilot's jaw tightened. Orders from command still glowed on the display. Maintain course, do not engage. But reality was different up here. Reality was two invisible predators riding shotgun. 05:36 hours, escort fighters, push in the J-16 escorts accelerated hard. Closing distance. Their radars lit up fully now. The response was instant. The Raptors' threat indicators flared, then settled. They had already solved the problem. The J-16 pilots began receiving contradictory warnings. Lock detected, lock lost, multiple threats, direction unknown. One pilot shouted, "I can't see them." That was the point. 5:38 hours, the American message changes. The lead Raptor pilot transmitted again, voice calm but sharper. Chinese bomber, you are under U.S. airspace control. Turn immediately to heading 180. This wasn't a warning anymore. It was an instruction. 05:39 hours. The dangerous second. For 3 full seconds, nothing happened. Then the bomber's nose dipped slightly. Not a turn. A hesitation. Inside U.S. command, someone exhaled. Did he acknowledge? No verbal response. But heading change is starting. 05:41 hours. Fighters cross a red line. One of the J-16S surged forward aggressively. Too fast. Too close. Its radar spiked. Inside the Raptor cockpit, alarms flickered. The American pilot didn't flinch. He rolled slightly, just enough. The J-16 systems erupted with warnings. Missile tone, point blank. The Chinese pilot froze. One move further, and he wouldn't make it home. 5:43 hours. Near missed the J-16 broke away hard. The bomber finally began a full turn. Banking left, engines throttling down. The digital boundary slid behind it. The airspace violation ended, but the moment was not over. 05:45 hours. High-level intervention. A secure channel activated mid-flight. Orders from higher authority flashed into both command centers. From the Chinese side, disengage immediately. Return to base. From the American side, escort until clear. Do not provoke. Everyone understood how close this had come. 05:48 hours. Controlled withdrawal. The bomber completed its turn and began a steady retreat. The Raptors stayed with it. Close, silent, unblinking. The J-16 escorts fell back, maintaining distance now. The sky relaxed, but only slightly. 05:52 hours. The world finds out. Radar data leaked. Commercial pilots reported unusual activity. Analysts noticed military traffic spikes. News alerts began to flash. Unidentified military incident near U.S. airspace. Governments refused comment, which said everything. 0556 hours, the final pass. At the edge of the ADIZ, the Raptors peeled away. No salute, no flare, no radio goodbye. They vanished, just as suddenly as they had appeared. Inside the bomber cockpit, the pilot finally breathed. 0601 hours. After action. Silence back in command centers. Recordings were reviewed frame by frame. Distance measured in feet. Decisions measured in milliseconds. A single assessment line was added to the report. Airspace sovereignty enforced without kinetic engagement. Deterrence achieved. Escalation avoided. Final reflection. The bomber never fired a weapon. The fighters never launched a missile. Yet the message was louder than any explosion. U.S. airspace is not tested. It is controlled. And on that morning, over quiet blue water and thin white clouds, two stealth fighters reminded the world that some lines are invisible, but absolutely real.